just patrol, quick time out. This is what I was saying, that sometimes I think you get in the way of your own communication, because people can cite you in Parliament. Just when the oral came out, you spoke very fluently that this is going to be nothing but witch hunting, personal vendetta.
I condemn in no uncertain terms the establishment of a so-called committee called ORA. I hold the humble view that it is a needless committee. It has no constitutional backing, and this committee is only in for personal vendetta. If we allow this committee to continue with its so-called wild goose chase, it will disturb the governance of this country. We don't need any so-called aura. I regret that members of this hallowed chamber are advocates of this illegal, unconstitutional so-called body called aura. Mr. Speaker,
because of what they were doing, Aura and some of your report, Ekoma Abain. Now Abain so Ediama state institutions to investigate. The American say when you pronounce a person guilty before he's tried.
But Patrol, that never happened though. That
no, but they went out to say that there is a 22 billion loot.
I remember people getting on there saying, that was just a way to win power, blah, 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 blah.
And you had a Mika Chow say, NDC, Kutre, NDC to mean your MPP.
Oh, hima, we
NDC, Anunkwa, Okujatwa, Black Omu, Jatobu,
what is it, oral, now?
Oral, me, Mankacha, so oral is Yamutu. Oral is a scam.
Wofa, do you know why?
But eventually,
do you know why I spoke against Aura? I will explain to you. I spoke against Aura because when they finish their work, Wofa, there's an old saying in criminal justice. Say, when all men find a man's hand in a till, his guilt must be proven. Mm-hmm. My position simply is that Oral went ahead of itself by putting out a report, making certain wild claims, and alleging malfeasance and loots against some people.
The 36 cases that we have reviewed in detail, if we are successful in recoveries, we can retrieve as much as 20.49 billion United States dollars. 20.49 billion United States dollars. 36 cases, and that's from National Cathedral, PDS, SML. You have the GMPC salt pond decommissioning. Then we've also done an estimate of the state capture, the lands. If we successfully ask people to pay conservative market value for the lands they have looted. Again, the experts are telling us that we can recover about 702.8 million United States dollars for the Ghanaian people.
When in fact, those people had not been heard, had not been tried and all. In any event, the same Attorney General came back to publicly contradict Ora. Say some of the claims now Ora making were unfounded.
The Honorable
before you came into power.
Before we came into power.
Okay.
No, okay. When we came into power. In fact, it was on the day that the oral report was being handed over to me that he mentioned the figure,
correct,
the 20.1 billion. But of course, that figure was based upon his own calculation of, the sums that were involved. So, for instance, if you take, let's say, drip, all right, the figure involved there is over 100 and something million dollars, right? When you take the value of lands that were, allegedly looted, they estimate the land in cantonments is what, 500,000 a plot.
Yeah.
So what he did was basically a back of the envelope type of calculation, and that is the figure that he put out. Now he has put a heavy load on my head because now everyone expects me to bring in, 20 billion. Yes, but
is that the case from where you sit?
No, from where I sit, it may be up to 20 billion. It may be up to 20 billion if you take the funds we are tracing offshore, into account, because a lot of monies were moved out. Offshore. All right, and but if you take what is in country, the kinds of things we are looking at now, so if you take, let's say the buffer stock matter is 78 million Ghana cedis, that's like $7.8 million, right? Or there's $7 million. If you take another $7 million from Eduboahin, $2 million from SkyTrain, and so on and so forth, I do not think that you go up to 21 billion.
Attorney General Nebekasa. So I'm saying, say, Enyenya botre emma emrano. Na yema due process. The word due process, no. Enwunia. Due process doesn't mean that compromise standard, compromise the integrity, compromise the process. Due process means say ube follow dia obia be say there's fair play.
I understand that perfectly. I also as well believe in due process.
I have not contradicted myself. Neither am I.
But
against
the statements came out wrongly then.
Maybe
came out wrongly then, because the statement was like you fight this illegal.
Mr. Speaker, that so-called committee claiming to be going after loot must be cautioned that committee is unconstitutional and illegal. And I pray that my respected colleague, Dr. Ayeni, after taking office, will review the activities of this illegal, unconstitutional body. The way this aura is going, it will not help the cause of our democracy. It is a needless committee. It has no constitutional backing. And this committee is only in for personal vendetta.
Advocacy on the floor, dear. Advocacy on the floor. It depends on the context. I've explained to you the very thing I said. Say, the way Ora presented the reports, for me, the approach led me to believe, say, they were up in arms to politically witch hunt. Okay. How they approached it.
That's the belief you had.
Yes, the way they approached that. And not surprisingly, the Attorney General himself came out publicly later to also say
which I appreciate.
All report was wrong.
Which I appreciate.
Because there were a lot of inaccuracies.
When I hung out with Tad the last time, he made it clear that some of the things that we heard will now have to go to court and to be proven in court, tested one by one. And after that, we can say, maybe there was no loot at all, or maybe Christ said there was more loot that we're thinking.
As for oral will take time.
Yeah.
So let's understand that at the time oral was put out there to all of us, it was based on particular information. That is one step of it. The next step is, if you launch an attack against somebody, a judicial one against somebody, it's not going to be like the one that was said on radio, that it is oral. We are going to pick the pieces one after the other until we get to
evidence based.
Yes, we must do that. And instead of doing it on radio, let's get to the courtroom and do it. Because that's where we are. So that's how I see it.
So understand what you are talking about. Initially, you may have had the fear, say, it was going to be used But I'm
Like the
saying that
public
the way you
tribunal.
came out,
Okay, sure.
the way you came out,
gave
gave the impression, say, Debbie. And even one of your members says, Ubi Akra friend son call, don't go.
And so if you are a former government official and you're invited by this so-called Ora, our advice to you from the minority is to boycott any invitation from the Ora team. We are not going to be part of it.
Oh, no,
Statements.
but Ora was not an institution. Ora was not, it was just an ad hoc body being. There was no way Obeka's Ora Frewa, because they didn't have an organized machinery of state. Then.
But eventually, now that they have it.
So now, I'm distribute report and be at BNI, be with Yoko, be with police.
What I say, me wrap up with her. With maybe when I'm wrong, me wrong, so I catch him. You know, I think from my perspective, from where I see things there, I think that deep inside you, I did a show. Maybe I saw it. Maybe I have Afenyo 1 and I have Afenyo 2. You know, so I said, will the real Afenyo stand up? Is it 1 or 2? You know, because in my books, the Afenyo 1 seems like he understands things. Seems that he believes in due process, everything. Afenyo 2 just speaks. And just speaks.
I speak the way I speak. Mm-hmm. It is just to remind them, say, power no. And Fanshe would say, you are taking your pound of flesh because it will last forever. Mm-hmm. But I want to tell you that on this matter of ensuring that we coexist as political actors peacefully, no, is something I fully advocate for, because that is what will advance our democracy. I am not in any way against accountability, but what I'm saying is that accountability should be pursued with a human face. As for the accountability bit, opening, we can't do away with it. We need to be accountable. Yet your mind see come out. No two ways. Untumin ka say, ebia omo tatao. There be any day. Say yet your mind see come out na we could di, and I could take a decision be na abo mine car. And no dear, ye investigate you wa. Untumi and you see politics as excuse. Nobody, and I want to repeat it before I leave this studio. Nobody is against accountability.
Patrol,
nobody is against Ora.